Hey, what's up everybody? This is Chris with Straight Up RC, and in this video I want to share with you what might be one of the most useful tips or tricks for a hobby grade RC enthusiast. So this little RC trick is something that I've been using for a really long time, and I've shared with a lot of people over conversations, verbally, over the phone, online, the same trick, but never put it into content like this. And I looked online for a really long time before deciding to make this video to see if anybody else had ever done it before, and I can't find anything. So if you're watching this and you've never seen this video or this tip before, feel free to share it out. Please do. Feel free to do that, you know. But if you have seen it, feel free to let me know, comment with a link, because I've never seen it. But it's something that I've shared, and like I said, a lot of people have been like, man, that's genius. That works perfectly. It's great. So what this video is going to cover is what is known as the shock retainer cup on your RC suspension. Most RC suspension, pretty much almost all of it, has a little plastic cup at the bottom of your shock. Pretty much every shock I've ever seen or ever used. Some might have something different, some might have some clips, but they're probably really special. But most hobby grade RC cars have a shock retainer cup. And this cup is designed to come off, just like this. And it's made to do that because you're supposed to be able to change springs, service the shock, change the shaft, anything that you want to do. If you bend this, you can replace it on a lot of shocks. Now, the kicker is that very, very often when you're bashing, when you're racing, when you're driving around, even if it's like within like 2 minutes of driving, and this little retainer cup somehow comes off the bottom eyelet and gets a little cattywampus or sideways or twists a little bit, and it pops off and hits the shaft, and you end up with something like this. The next bump you take, boom, this is gone. There goes your whole day of RC. And this could happen in minutes. And I've experienced that so many times. And I've had conversations and even phone calls where people are like, my kid has had this car for 2 minutes. And in 2 minutes in the front yard, he lost that little plastic thing on the bottom of the shock, and I can't find it. It's probably somewhere, but sometimes you just can't find it, you know? And it can ruin a whole afternoon or a good half an hour or hour's worth of RC driving just because you lose that little shock retainer cup. And it sucks. Not only that, a lot of times when you lose it, hobby grade RC companies and stock replacement shocks, they don't sell just this piece. They don't. There's very few stock shock sets for any company out there that they actually sell replacement pieces for the bottom shock retainer cup. Whether it's a 5th scale or it's a 10th scale or 8th scale, whatever, they don't sell them. I don't know why. Maybe it's just cost effective, whatever the case may be, but a lot of companies don't sell that little shock retainer cup. And when I've talked to people, they're like, man, what do I do? How do I replace this? Can I put like a clip on it or something? I'm like, well, no, you really can't. The only thing you can do is buy a set of shocks. And usually you end up spending $8 to $20 for 2 shocks. Sometimes on the 5th scales, it's even more expensive. And it's a bummer. It really, really sucks. So this trick will hopefully prevent that from ever happening to you again. And it's very easy. It's very simple. It takes a couple of minutes per shock, and all it requires is a little bitty drill bit and some zip ties. Now, on some shocks, you might be lucky because you're gonna notice that the gap for the shock to come off it is very tight, and it doesn't pop off easy. Some people may have never experienced this before because the brand of RC car that they have, the shock retainer cup, is on there so good that it's almost impossible for it to come off. And especially in like race quality vehicles or people that, you know, do like 8 scale races or 10 scale races at a track, and they have actual race level vehicles, those shocks are more, I guess, well developed, well designed, that it doesn't happen very often. And not only that, usually the track is so well kept that if you ever do lose one, you probably can find it, or somebody has a spare or something like that. So you're not gonna see this used in like race level RC. But for hobby grade, for crawlers, for bashers, pretty much anything, it works great. Now, All it requires you to do is to realize that this gap is there for a reason and it's utilized to come off. All you have to do is prevent that from happening. So you'll notice that on some shocks, there's actually holes in the shock. There's holes in the 5th scale, there's holes in this 8 scale shock set. Sometimes the 10 scales have them. And all you need to do is take a little zip tie and put it through the hole on one side and the hole on the other side and close the zip tie off. That's it. All you gotta do. It takes a couple of seconds, maybe a minute or so on shocks. Some shocks, like these 10 scale ones, they don't have holes. That's understandable. It's really easy. That's where the drill bit comes in. You get about a 4mm or 3mm drill bit. You get the little teeny tiny zip ties that you can get at AutoZone, Walmart, wherever you want to get them from. And you simply drill a hole on one side of the slot, on the other side of the slot, and then you feed the zip tie through. You know, you pull the shock down and you put the zip tie through the other side. And it works on the 5th scales, it works on the 8 scales, it works on 10 scales. It works on pretty much anything with a plastic retainer cup. And your goal is simply to close off the gap. Because once this gap is closed off, there's only 2 ways that's coming off. That's it. There's only 2 ways possible. Either you crash and you break the shock, or you cut it. Because normal wear and tear, normal bashing on an RC car of any kind is not going to break that just willy-nilly. It's not going to fall off. I've had these zip ties on some of my cars for over a year, easily. And if I need to service the shock, clean it, if I need to replace it, if I'm upgrading, that's fine. My MT10 model actually has this little zip tie on all 4 shocks around the entire truck, and they've been there literally for over a year. My Landslide has them, my Red Cat Shredder has them, my Traxxas Stampede has them, everything. It's a very easy process to do, and you can even make them fancy color. You know, once you have them all said and done, it doesn't affect the recoil rate of the shock. It doesn't affect the rebound. It's not going to get in the way of the lower control arm or the mount. It shouldn't impede the drive shaft, and it shouldn't do anything to affect your car to a level where it can't perform like normal. And it's not going to affect the weight for the most part, because if it's a hobby grade RC car and all you're doing is drive around bashing, you're not really worried about weight distribution or something like that. So there's no reason that it should affect you in a way negatively to be able to perform and drive like your RC car is intended to. Now, the only time that you're going to end up with an issue with this trick is if your shocks have aluminum caps. These aftermarket upgrade shocks have aluminum caps. Now, unless you're gonna drill a hole in an aluminum cap, this is probably not gonna work, but they're upgrade shocks. This upgrade aluminum cap probably gonna hold a little bit better. It's not gonna flex as easily. It might hold to the eyelet a little easier. So you may not have to worry about it on shocks like this, just simply because that's the design of it. It's upgrade. It's intended to be more secure anyways. The other kind of shock that you're not gonna obviously be able to do this with is little bitty teeny tiny 24th and 18th scale shocks. You might be able to do it, but you're gonna have like a little teeny tiny zip tie. I don't know, I've never seen anything that small. So, you know, these little 24 scale shocks, I don't foresee anybody being able to get that to work like that. 18 scale shocks, maybe 16 scale, depends. But again, simple and easy trick. It's gonna save you money, it's gonna save you time, and it might even save your bash session or your RC session with your kids or with, you know, some guys out on the trail and nobody else has your shocks, you know. But this simple trick might actually help you greatly in the future. So take a little bit of time out of your day, go about and go through all your shocks on some of the cars that you use the most, and if they have the space and you feel like doing it and you've experienced losing a shock retainer cup in the past, feel free to use this trick. And like I said, please feel free to share this video with anybody that you know or any groups that you might be in that want or have had the conversation about, you know, wondering about, man, was there any way to stop this from happening? There's your trick right there. Like I said, it works time and time again, and the only time you're gonna ever have to deal with it is when you this tip helped, if this tip helps somebody else that you know, or you already knew this but you feel like sharing this as well because maybe you've never seen the video before, feel free to like this video, subscribe if you'd like to see more RC how-to stuff and tips and tricks, and thanks for watching. Have a good one.